Hey, howdy ho, how we bitchin' a tootin'? I mean, I have no clue, but welcome back to the $2 Film Club, where we somewhat weekly like to post our episodes depending on the any given week, depending on if it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But this week, you know, Leo and I were talking, and I suggested a little movie from 2000, which, bro, I don't know if I've ever told you this fact about this movie, or like, I don't know if you put two and two together. Bro, this came out the day I was born. March 17th, 2000.
Wait, are you serious?
Look it up right now.
There's no way. Hold on.
2000.
Um, oh shit, it did come out March 17th. What the fuck?
Bro, is that not the freakiest fucking thing ever? But if
There's
you haven't figured it out now, between that and the title of the episode, it's a Final Destination because I'm a big fan of the franchise and that new one's coming out this weekend and it looks fucking awesome.
well,
Don't do, bro. You can't sit here and judge when the only Final Destination film you'd seen was the 3D one. And you should know by now that 3D is the only bad film in a horror franchise. It's just never good for any
it's
film in
not
a horror
called
franchise.
Final Destination
No, but
3D
it,
though.
it might as well be because damn near half the film is shot in 3D, and
I
it's
didn't watch it
really,
in 3D either.
bro. That's what makes it so annoying watching it back now. Is it's all shot for 3D, so it all looks
Hmm,
extremely stupid most of the time with all the kills.
that's funny.
Um,
I
but
do
yeah,
actually remember quite a bit from that movie, but I'm sure if I watched it
they're
now,
not
I'd
good
be like, this is
memories.
really stupid. I'm surprised that I was allowed to watch it because I was so young. Um, but I do remember some of the kills being kind of gruesome, at least gruesome for me. I don't know. I think I told you this before, but I was afraid of like after I saw that movie, I was afraid of like escalators or something like that.
Yeah, you told me that, bro. Like what?
Because I don't, if anyone who's familiar knows that in that movie, there's a pretty there that one was I remember being pretty gruesome. There's a pretty gruesome part where someone gets killed by an escalator.
That's like literally the only good death in that film, but that's literally not neither here or there, bro. Q like I don't know how to like describe this movie. Just because, bro, it's got Devin. I don't know how familiar you are with Devin Sawa, but like he's kind of had like a cult career ever since this film. He's done like a lot of really weird and zany movies. But like he's most known, I think, more now for his role in like that not Tucky, Chucky TV series that I think it was Sci-Fi Channel or someone did.
Mm.
But you did the like I don't know if you knew Kurt Smith, he's a big actor that I knew, Sean William Scott, Ali Larder. I think when this film came out, the biggest name was Tony Todd in this film.
He's in like one scene too.
Which is really funny because that's like a common theme with the movies. He's not in 3 or 4, but I mean he's got like a voice line in the third movie, but he's only in the first, second, and fifth one.
I thought he wasn't in the second one because I remember I was looking at the cast and it didn't show that he was in the second one.
No, yes, he's in fact in the second
Oh,
one.
interesting. I mean, yeah, it's interesting to watch because I know who these people are. I've seen them in like other stuff, but I just never knew that they were in this movie. Like Ali Larder, I've seen her in like a couple of other things. Kerr Smith, I think he came out in an episode of like NCIS like a while ago, and so I
Well,
know
he
him
was
from
in
that.
like Dawson's Creek. He was in that remake of the My
I've
Bloody
never seen.
Valentine movie.
I've never seen either of
Oh,
those.
dude,
But like
what a
but also
bomb!
like that. Even the dude who plays Todd, like I think he was in like an episode of Smallville or something. And so yeah, I'm familiar with them just in everything but this, or in anything but this.
No, I totally agree with you, and I think it's interesting. It's been a while since I've seen this film. I mean, I don't know if anyone has not seen this film, but if you haven't, definitely spoilers going forward.
It's
Um,
not a bad movie. Because I know I told you that I probably wasn't gonna be able because I we were doing stuff late last night and I probably wasn't gonna be able to like watch it until this morning because you wanted to do one and two and I was like, I can probably only give you one. But then when I got home, I had nothing to do, and so I kind of just started watching it, and I ended up watching the whole the whole thing. So
well,
it was
bro,
actually like quite like it was a good watch. I liked it.
it definitely keeps you entertained. And the one thing
Yeah.
I noticed this time, because for some reason, whenever I go back to like watch these, like excluding the fourth one, that one's just like in its own separate little quadrant. I never go back to the first one for some reason, which is ironic because this is the film that literally gave me my fear of flying, and it's not gone away since. So that says something, and I think it's really interesting going back to this film after watching like two, three, five, and four once in a while. Um,
Wait, so you
and,
watched the fourth one more than this one?
bro, I watched it well because for some reason I started watching them in like backwards. So I watched the fifth one and then the
Oh my
fourth one like
god.
2, 3 weeks ago, and then I just stopped. And going back to this one, it's kind of a jarring experience because it's a vastly different feel to the other four. Something I found
Yeah.
really interesting with this is like I don't know why I couldn't remember how they kind of treat death as like, I know it's like a ghostly figure in all the films, but they actually treat death as like a ghostly presence. Like there's about two or three times in the film where you're seeing like a shadowy figure like go through some like reflective surface. And
Yeah.
when I was watching this, I was like, dude, wait, what the fuck is going on? I did not remember this movie kind of being like almost a paranormal activity film.
I mean, that
Because
kinda
like none of the films go back to that. None of them.
well, see, that I was kinda caught off guard by that too, because I don't remember that ever happening in, like, the fourth one. Like, and that's the other thing, like, this one we keep watching these movies, and I'm like, "Damn, that feels really tame to compared to what, like, I've heard and, what you know about the franchise," and, like, this one, like, it's definitely not as gory or even gruesome as, like, the fourth one is. Like, I remember that one, like, someone get like, even, like, the opening, like, someone gets killed by, like, a fucking, like, because 'cause aren't they, like, at a racetrack or something, and, like, I remember someone getting, like, demolished by a fucking, like, flying tire or something, and then there's that
Well,
escalator thing. Like, I don't know, I feel like the next, and even in, like, the trailer for, like, the newest one, Bloodlines, I feel like they're leaning a lot more on, like, the gory, like, you know, kills and stuff like that, and that's not really what this movie is, you know what I mean?
no, I totally agree because I found it interesting like this time around watching it because it had been so long. The opening of this film is wildly different. Well, like the same concept. Like the main character gets a premonition of an accident that's going to happen, and like they freak out and save a bunch of the people that were going to die. Like
Mhm.
that essentially is the same, but kind of going off your tangent with this, you don't really see the accident like unveil for a lot of the characters. You're really just stuck in the perspective of Alex, unlike the rest of them. Like in the second one when you're in that giant car wreck, because that's the car wreck film, or like each film is known for like their big opening wreck sequences. Like this one's the plane.
Like a James
The,
Bond movie.
yeah. Just like everyone just completely gets slaughtered. But in the second one is when they really kind of ramp up the, wow, dude, this is like a chain reaction beyond belief. And it goes from the outside perspective of just the main protagonist and shows you just the overall perspective. And you're just seeing every different character. Like, I mean, this really isn't a spoiler because, like, even if I tell it to you, it doesn't do it justice. But the reason why like they lean into it, I feel like going forward, is because in that second one, they just do some really insane shit where some dude slides off his motorcycle, gets pinned between a log truck,
Oh, I've
but
seen that
then
scene. I've
yeah,
seen
yeah,
that scene.
exactly. And this film has none of that. It's pretty bare. It's really just sitting in a plane explosion. You're not really following like the path in which they die in. Like in the second, third, fourth, and fifth, you can track like they track it in this, but like when you're watching it, they visually show you who dies this, then them, then that, so you as the audience can track it. But
Mm.
this they kind of just like do that little example when Alex is like doing his little investigation and he draws the path.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
this film has a lot of different things that the second one and beyond, like I think, break up and like turns into more of what this franchise kind of turns into, like in the same way that it happens with like the Saw franchise.
Mm, interesting. Interesting. I mean, I'd say I don't know. I feel like I'm more interested in watching the rest of these movies than I was the Saw
Well,
movies.
the thing is with Saw, it did want to focus on the torture aspect, but the thing with Final Destination is it's pure like, what is the most inventive way we can kill someone and still shock the audience?
I
And
I will say some of the kills in this movie were a little rough. Like the first
bro, 2000s beyond belief.
like I don't know. It always like as soon as it's a little silly and it takes you out just a tiny bit where like her fucking the teacher Luton or whatever
Yeah.
her mug cracks on the bottom and she like just poured alcohol in it and then she just like she walks all the way across the room into like oh and then she goes over her computer and it just the whole time is just dripping alcohol and I'm just like I'm sorry bitch but how the fuck did you not notice that like I don't know
Well,
like
that
some of
that
it some of it's a little wacky but I mean the kills are pretty like solid I'd say like um
well, going
I mean
back
yeah
to
I don't know.
like the paranormal aspect I was talking about before, another
Hmm.
thing that like this film does that the others don't, like outside of like death being like an actual kind of ghostly presence in this film, outside of just kind of being in the space and you're not seeing them, like you see kind of death set things up in this film and like not the same way the others happen. Like in the opening incidences for like the second, third, and fourth, it all seems like accidents. While in this film, like I think about Todd's death in particular, it's like the water's like tracking him down and following him. Like it's all
And
looking
then it like
purposely.
recedes too at the
Yeah,
end
and then it
too.
recedes. Like this film does all that type of stuff that it confuses me more. Like how they kind of shift the not narrative but like the ideas and concepts that this film like presents but does differently, because a lot of what this film does outside of the main like, oh, you can cheat death but like you find out later like you can cheat death but then it just repeats back at the bottom of the list and then it keeps going. um
Is that
yeah
what that's
I
supposed to
just
be?
yeah, so that's like I guess the quote unquote like next part of figuring out what death's design is in that second film. It's like nothing too shocking, but if you like save a life or of like anybody, you quote unquote get their life. But all it really does is kind of just like skip your name on the list, goes to the next person. And then if that person saves a person on the list or like kills someone to replace them, then it just keeps going in that order until it kills them, essentially.
Oh,
Right? So
interesting.
that's why like the time difference is kind of jarring in this film. Like you have the main incident and then you
Oh,
pick up
you
a
mean the
month
cliffhanger?
later.
You mean at the end?
And then yeah, at the end it picks back up 6 months later, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And it's just like, why is death just waiting so long? You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I the like supernatural like entity stuff. Like I feel like that could have worked for me, but um,
It dated
it
the film for me a little bit.
it
It
does.
made it
Yeah,
feel kind of like, oh, this is like all right, early 2000s, like a big black hovering cloud of mist is fucking horrifying, you know?
yeah, I think it could have worked if they leaned more into it and like we. I feel like there's not much of a resolution to that aspect of it, and that's probably why they took it out in the other ones. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like if they did something more with it, it would kind of justify its presence in this movie, but it kind of doesn't.
And I feel like that just kind of like goes for this film as a whole. Like it just has a lot of great ideas that it doesn't necessarily know what to do with 100%. Because like each film progressively like fixes this problem, I'd say not like a tremendous amount, but like a lot of the character relationships aren't the strongest. But the one thing going back to this that I found quite pleasing was the idea of like Claire Rivers being not a final girl, but like not your traditional love interest girl, where she's not like this pop. She's like the quote unquote freak of the school. She sticks to her books. No one likes talking to her. I just thought that was a interesting dynamic to play off of in terms of like the horror retrospective, where it's always kind of got to be like the super hot girl who has a hot boyfriend who's put in this instance where she really isn't. But I feel like the movie kind of tramples over that idea towards the end once like her and Alex start developing like I don't like even want to say it's a relationship because they go from like just like being buddy buddy to oh baby baby don't leave me please baby, and I'm like
I hate
oh
that shit,
okay.
man.
It was so
Dude,
it was so cringy, so
that
cringy.
stuff is like my least favorite part of the movie, and I remember watching it, and I get that it's a 2000s movie, and it's also a horror movie. But yeah, I get that it's a 2000s movie and it's like a horror film as well, but like the relationship between those two characters just like does not work for me in like in any sense. Like it's just so dumb because yeah, like there's no like we see them kind of like, with each other and it alludes to that, but the whole time I'm just like, okay, this is like pretty lame, like a lame way of showing it. And we don't really ever get to experience them like really bonding that much. And it bothers me even more because like she like flops back and forth between like believing him, and that really bugged me.
Yeah,
And then the other thing too is that like it kind of feels like they're too afraid to commit to them being like
a
a
thing.
thing, because like and that's part of why it feels like that. And then yeah, just all of a sudden like they just like halfway through the movie they just start doing things that like you would see like people who have like romantic attraction to each other would do in like other movies. Like like they like she hugs him first or whatever. And yeah, like she calls him baby and shit. I don't know, it's weird. Her name is weird too. Like I don't you said Claire earlier. That's not
But
her
it's
name.
spelled clear. No, no, it's spelled clear, but it's pronounced Claire.
I don't think it is though.
Are we sure, bro? By the
I'm
way,
pretty sure it's not.
this is a big debate. By the way, on the internet,
It fucking
people have
sounds like
debated
Claire.
this.
Like it sounded like Claire when I first heard it. And but then I had the subtitles running, and I was like, and it kept saying clear, and I was like, is
I
Amazon
know.
like having a stroke or something right now? Like, did they put the wrong, like, did the person who did the subtitles like misspell her name or mishear her name? But no, when he does that fucking path thing, he spells it out, and I was like, oh, her name is just fucking clear. That's fucking weird. Like, I don't
But
know
they
whose
kind of
idea
pronounce
that
it
was.
with like the A being like enunciated more. It's really confusing because it sounds like they're really trying to say Claire, but like they keep forgetting that her name is Clear, so they kind of try to course
He
correct it
fucking
halfway
did.
through.
It's a
You
dumb
know what I
name.
mean? So it's a bit of a dumb name. And to go off like the whole relationship, I will say I know you texted me last night after the movie ended for you. It's just like the ending sucked, and I'm like, you know what? It is not the best ending in the world, but after watching their relationship, knowing the original ending of
Oh yeah.
Claire becoming like pregnant by Alex's child. She's the only one that survives. Like Alex is supposed to die in that third act. I can't remember what was supposed to happen with Carter's character if he's was like supposed to survive or not in the original cut. I'm inclined to believe that he wasn't, but originally Claire or Clear was supposed to survive and the movie was ending on you finding out she was pregnant, because I'm sure you know this. Like after the movie ends, it shows you the poster for the second one. She's in the second movie. Hence, with the reshoots, I don't know when the reshoots happened, but they went on to reshoot the ending, and that's like the ending that you see now, which kind of sets up the second movie because like the whole blonde hair, um, and her kind of getting a premonition. I don't know. We'll talk about that a little bit and speculate, but their relationship just is not built well enough for all of this, and so it does make me appreciate the fact that they were aware enough after going through test audiences and realizing like, yeah, this isn't good.
Is the
Um,
ending, like, available to watch somewhere? 'Cause, like, I don't know, I feel like I
I
have
don't
like
think so.
yeah, like, yeah, like, her getting pregnant is dumb because, we just talked about, like, how all they do is, like, allude to it, and, like, we never get anything solid to, like, show that, like, they really have that kind of, like, relationship, and honestly, I'm honestly surprised they didn't have sex, like, halfway through the movie. Like, I was totally expecting that to happen, and, they kind of this feels like the first horror movie that I've watched in a while that is, like, actively afraid to, like, have, like, sexual stuff in it, which is kinda weird, but,
Well, it
um
feels like it's actively afraid to do anything with like in not even just a sexual manner, just a kindling manner between any of the characters.
yeah.
Because, like I said, you don't really see much development of any of the relationships, especially between Alex and Claire. Think about between Terry and Carter. Their relationship is, if not any, in this film. So like the film is it's just weird. It's telling us that it doesn't care about relationships in this movie, but it's actively trying to get us to care about the main protagonist's relationship. Because, like, even in the beginning of the film, they say to each other, "We haven't spoken to each other for the first 4 years of high school," and then I assume they haven't spoken that whole month in between the accident and their like little high school memorial in the beginning of the film. So it's like, what, this happens in the course of a week and a half, and during that time you're questioning whether he's fucking crazy or not. Why should I believe, like, let alone her like having sex with him and getting pregnant, why should I believe that you care about whether he dies or not? And I know they do like
Yeah.
that little side trip to see Todd's body, but I don't know. The film isn't convincing on any relationship in this film, let alone the main protagonist is like my
I mean,
main thing.
I got, like, the only relationship that I really liked was his relationship with his friend Todd, and that, like, because they actually felt like friends, but, I mean, the movie does a lot to, like, set up their friendship at the beginning, and I don't have a problem with, them, forging new relationships. It's just that, like, we go through, like, those first couple of scenes where, like, he's, like, kind of opening up to her and, vice versa, and then they go on that, like, like, they go to break into the mortician place or whatever, but I it kinda just stops after that, and you're kinda left wanting more. And it doesn't help that, like, immediately after, she's just like, "I don't believe you anymore." And I it's just so weird because earlier in when he goes to her house, she starts talking all this, like, voodoo mumbo jumbo shit about, like, "Oh, I just, like, felt in the moment that, like, I believed you, like, there was this deep connection." And, like, all of that gets dropped, like, and that was another thing that really annoyed me. I was just like, "Okay, you're setting something up, and then you're, like, it doesn't have anything to do with anything later, like, it never comes back
Well,
up."
well, I'd argue against that a little bit, and I think that's why I think the new ending or like the reshot ending works slightly better in the very least, is because I feel like it actually pays off to Claire having like these clairvoyant feelings, we'll just say for now, because at the end I think it does like kind of at least tell you that it's hard to like say this now because like it's very clear in the second one that she gets not the same type of premonitions that Alex does, but it's really weird because I'm hoping at least in the new one, throughout all five of them, it's never clear. No pun intended on that, guys, with her name, but it's not clear throughout the franchise, like the whole premonition side. So it's hard to make a clear argument on it because in each film, like the main protagonist has a different version of the premonition. Like some characters will just see the entire like death, or
Mm.
they'll see it in like these little eye swarming moments of like little moments of the death scene that gives them clues to it, or like they'll fall asleep and they'll see that. So
That's how I remember in the 4th one it is, it's like, he doesn't see, like, the whole thing, like, he does the first one, and then the rest of them are just like these like weird um like visual effects heavy like visions. Like he still has to like piece together like what's happening. And this one it was really just like short, like you would see when Terry dies, like you see the bus thing and like the reflection, and he kind of has like he doesn't really see it though. He kind of like we see it as an audience member, and then he sort of just like he kind of looks around like, oh, what was that? Like that's it's very weird how like different it is. Like it's very minimalist.
Well, that's the thing is all of them kind of just change, if that makes sense. Like in the third one, whenever we get around to that, we'll talk about it a little bit more. But like it's done through the ideation of photography. And I'm figuring out a good way to explain this. But like the whole setup for the inciting incident in that third one with the roller coaster accident, Elizabeth Winstead's character is taking photos of like all of the people that die in the accident but wind up surviving. And so
Mm-hmm.
throughout the film, she goes back to their individual photos, and like those images are like giving hints as to like how they could potentially die.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just wildly different from like anything any of the other films do. And
That actually
so
kind of
I
sounds
was
more interesting than what we
it
actually
is.
got.
I it is interesting, and I think I kind of liked the subtleness of this film
Yeah.
because outside of like the paper going into the fan and like shredding up to Todd's name, which looking at now on the IMDb, I am actually shocked this motherfucker's name is spelled with one D. I thought that was just something in the film to give him a clue. Like it wasn't saying Todd directly, but it was like TOD, like Todd. Like, oh shit. But no, his name is TOD in the IMDb. But like constantly throughout the film, like more so before the deaths, there's things in like the production design that give away to like how certain characters could die that the other
Mm.
films don't go back to, like when
The only one that
Luton.
I've heard about is with what is his name? The dude that rides the bike all the time. I can't remember his fucking name. Um,
Billy
yeah,
with
Billy.
the monkey or clown in the beginning and the fan.
Um, it's just I know the only thing that I knew before going in is that I knew that he dies by decapitation because there's a shot at the beginning when he's watching the plane go by. It like goes like the reflection goes through his face.
Yeah, like the stuff like that, like when Luton was walking around her house. And like this one was just like kind of made me laugh because it was so obvious. But like the stained glass window on her door is a knife, so like
Oh,
she'll
is it?
stand
I
in.
didn't notice
Yeah,
that.
so
Oh wait,
she
no, I
stood
do
in
remember
front of it,
that. You're
and it looked
right.
like it was going straight through her chest.
That's
So like
funny.
the franchise kind of goes away from stuff like that. That going back to it now, I picked up on a little bit more, and it kind of made me a little bit more invested into looking around outside of like what water's falling or like what pins are on the floor that they could step on to like make them fall. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I wish the franchise did a little bit more of that, but I appreciate that like this film, like you were saying before, it's not bloody, but it's very contained,
Hmm.
which I also appreciate. Which I don't know. This movie, I have a very firm affirmation for. I very much enjoy it. I like going back to this, not because it is a very 2000s film, but there's just something so creatively innovative about this whole idea that I just can't seem to warp my head around. That I
Mm.
think the films like they might not like that fourth one is objectionably the worst, but I just think it's really cool to figure out how to kill people like this. Like the film, this one doesn't go deep on it, but like this one does it more for shock value. They'll have like a few of the deaths that like they'll linger on them, like, oh, how are they gonna die? But like the Terry with getting hit by the bus or Billy just having his head chopped off, the franchise kind of goes away from that and it turns into like these tension filled festivals, like where you think this character will die, but it'll be this character instead.
Mm.
So like I appreciate this one being a little bit more toned down because I think it does allow you to like wallow in like these horrific moments. Like the idea of high schoolers being blown up in a fucking airplane explosion is a ridiculous idea in early 2000s America. Right? Is that not mean?
I didn't think about that, but that's kind of funny that you brought that up because yeah, that is that is kind of weird to think about, like this mass like plane tragedy, like literally like a year before fucking 9/11 happens.
Yep.
Because like
Crazy.
they don't even go through. I don't think they go through security in this movie.
No, bro. What is it like? Literally, when he's showing his boarding pass to the TSA agent, she's just like, "Oh, did you by any chance just see some guy give you a random bag that you didn't want?" And he's just like, "No." She's like, "All right, cool. If you see one, just let us know. I guess." I'm just like, "Oh my god, bro! Now we need to be like fucking triple patted down to make sure we can get in." People are just like walking through metal detectors like it's no one's business.
I will say that, like, I like how this movie like starts. Like I knew going in kind of what was gonna happen, and so you're kind of just waiting for it to get to that moment. But I kind of enjoyed like a lot of the character moments with, like, Alex and Todd. Like them going to the bathroom is really funny. And then but also like when they're getting on the plane and his brother is just like, this would be a really fucked up god to like take this plane down. And like after they see the child, and then later like right after that when they see like the disabled person, and he's just like a really really fucked up god. And I like really like those moments because it's just playing on the fact, like, yeah, we know like this is kind of coming. And it's not like useless stuff that we're watching. It's just like filling in the gaps a little bit so that once it gets started, we like kind of feel really awful about all of this stuff.
I think the build up, like the intro, is just well done. Like aside from not even being in the airport, like the stuff building up to the airport, it just leaves this lingering feeling of uneasiness. And especially
Yeah.
if you don't know what the film is about, you're just kind of sitting there. Like that's why I want to watch this with someone who has no idea what the franchise is and just watch them in order
Mm.
because I think going into this film fresh eyes would be a really unique experience because it does kind of just leave you with this lingering unnerving feeling throughout and you don't know why until you start getting into the airport and you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? And yeah, it's a lot easier nowadays to be like, oh, I bet you this plane's probably gonna crash or something. But in early 2000s, bro, like I know I speak a lot about like the time and era because I think that plays a lot into the factor of it. But like I'm looking at like a screenshot on the IMDb page right now, and it's just blowing my mind. It's a screenshot of like Alex and Carter fighting with the plane crash or the explosion happening in the background. But it's just like you're building up to all these different things of Alex having these like unnerving feelings of looking at the terminal list with like all the flight details and
Oh
they're all
yeah.
switching to canceled, delayed, or like the ones that are delayed just slowly move to canceled, but the flight 180 is not the one. But you're just like, what does this mean? Like especially when like you're expecting, at least if the plane's gonna blow up, you don't expect it to be in the vein of like a supernatural element where it's all this predestined bullshit and not, oh look, a terrorist is gonna blow us up. To go just go back to like your whole, wow, TSA was really easy. Bro, they literally throw under the bed him being a terrorist real fast in this film.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's almost an afterthought. They're like, "Are you a terrorist, son?" He's like, "No." They're like, "All right, next thing."
I will admit some of that stuff is a little kind of funny to think back on. But I given how, like, it's been 25 years since this movie came out. I think it's
The beginning
aged.
holds up.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of it is aged well. Like you know, it's kind of funny when Todd dies, just kind of the way. It's so unexpected, like how it happens. Um, but then they kind of explain it's like I remember having questions of like, oh, why is the water like going back? That's kind of weird. And then they're like, oh, everyone's saying like, oh, he committed suicide, and I was like, oh, that's why, because they want it to look like something else. um and then it's kind of convenient that um Alex goes back and they think that he murdered her. That stuff kind of isn't really resolved, but I think overall, like, this movie holds up pretty well, and I can imagine going to theaters and or getting this on like DVD or something and just being like, not knowing really what was happening and just being like, oh damn, like, the kills are pretty creative for the most part, and not expecting like how things were gonna go down.
Yeah. I to speak on like the way like things were gonna go down. I this time around, the thing that really bugged me in terms of the ending, the third act itself, not like the Paris stuff, is for some reason, like once the third act starts in this film, they kind of ramp up death like three notches, and they just kind of turn death into like this force out to get Alex, and I think it's a
You mean
thing
when
that
he's
they
like running
noticed.
to go save her?
Yeah, with to get Claire, like or like the whole time, like that whole third act, it just feels like when they're both like being purposely trying to be murdered, it didn't. There was no influence to it because they already set up that it happens in the order of each death. So I find it hard to believe that them dying at the same time would be in death's order, not in like the same vein, like they're dying in a car accident or like a plane exploding. We're in the same spot, but it's just like they're in two different areas, and like the house is being electrically lit on fire after a pool of electricity is covering the house, while Alex has these trees falling on top of him and drowning him. It gets like this film is absurd,
No,
and
yeah.
I can like discern my disbelief for a second, but they don't set it up like death is out to get him outside of this was meant to be, especially when they do that 6 month fast forward. It's just like, oh, he'll just come back for you if he can't get you this time. So it feels really weird that he's so like death is so adamant to get them
I
at the
mean,
end,
I
when I don't know why he just didn't try to be so adamant in the first place. Like, why wait the 3 months and then why try to just rush it all now and then wait another 6 months, or wait a month and then wait 6 months again?
I mean, I don't read it as death being out to get him. I read it more as like death is trying to do whatever it can to stop him from saving her. Um and then you just I know that they do that for like tension, and that's also why like he's being chased by the cops. But that's kind of how I read it. I didn't really see it as like, breaking the rules or anything, or breaking the order.
Yeah. It just felt like it needed to. It felt like the movie felt like it needed to be more exciting in the third act.
Yeah, I
When
definitely get what you're saying. Yeah,
like I don't think it needed to.
yeah,
Like I
I
think there's ways to do it, but like this felt like a very Hollywood way to do it. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Explosions, fireballs. She gets trapped in the car. He goes flying back. Like it goes to an extreme that the film hadn't done in terms of the way like death is trying to like kill these people.
Mhm.
Like trying to blow up an entire house, like he did that with Luton, but like it was a slow progression of like the water, and then she drops the knife on herself and then it blows up, rather than all the electrical systems just like fucking going in and out. I don't know. For me, it just felt like very jarring to go from the slow, methodical, built out deaths, or
Mm.
like the bus with Terry, or just happening really fast, to wow, dude, this whole area looks like it's about to get like Hiroshima. You know what I mean? like just
Hmm.
absolutely exploded on.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, yeah, it is a little much, and they probably could have just gotten away with the fact that like the police are chasing him. Um, but I don't know. It didn't bug me that much. There were other things that bugged me. Like I do want to talk more about the ending because I don't know. I just we got to the part where they skipped ahead, and I did realize that like oh, they kind of look a little different. It's more clear that looks very different. Like you can tell that like she's not, that's her like natural like hair color. Uh but yeah, I don't know. It just comes out of nowhere because like all of a sudden it's like 6 months later, and then they reveal Alex is with them, and then they're talking about all this stuff, and then
It makes no
and
sense why Carter's there too.
I
Like,
know it kind of doesn't, but I just that's not even my main issue with it. It's just so out of nowhere. Like all of it comes out of left field for no reason. Like all of a sudden, Clear is having premonitions, and like it's trying to kill Alex again, and then he's there, and then like Carter saves Alex, and he's like, "Oh, who's next?" And then that fucking big ass sign. He's just standing there like a dumbass, and the sign like just comes
it's
falling down on him, and
like,
then it
bro, how do
cuts.
you not
It's
know it's
straight.
you?
It's
Like,
it's straight. Oh well, the whole conversation before that, he's like, "Oh, I'm fine because you're
he
before me,"
literally explained it.
and
Like, and then
but the,
he's standing there with the sign flying down. Well, who's next? I
but
don't know, asshole.
but then it just cuts to black. Dude, the cut to black pissed me the fuck off. Dude, I stayed up to watch this movie, and then that was how it ended. I was
Oh,
so annoyed.
dude,
I was like,
I could
"You
probably piss you off a little bit
motherfuckers."
more.
Huh?
Do you want me to piss you off a little bit more with
Go
this
ahead.
ending?
Go ahead.
So, do you know anything about the second film? This really isn't a
I
spoiler
mean,
for the
other than
second
what you
film.
told me.
Okay, so Alex dies off screen in between the ending of this film and the second film.
Are
And
you
you want to know how
serious?
they explain his? No, no, no. You want to know how they explain his death off screen?
Wow.
He was just walking outside with Claire, and a brick fell on his head. I shit you not, bro. And it's in
There's
the
no
form of
way.
a
There's
newspaper
no way
article that
that's
she had.
serious.
Well, bro, because you pick up with Claire in a mental institute because she put herself there so she could have padded walls so nothing could kill her. And so around the room is all these different news articles, and one of them is of Alex's death, and it's
Oh
that.
my god.
And that's how they explain
That's so
why
much
he's
more
not in the
dumb
second one.
than
That's what I said. Don't worry, dude. They piss you off a little bit more.
but I don't know. I just my problem with this ending is mainly that it just feels like there's no resolution to anything. Like, it doesn't resolve the whole like death coming to get them because we don't like we infer that Carter dies, but we don't see Alex die, and we don't see Clear die. And like it annoys me because it's just like, I would have been fine with all of them dying, or all of them living, or only one of them surviving, which kind of sounds like that's what ends up happening in the second one. Like when you learn that Clear is the only one that's alive. But it really annoys me that they set up all this stuff about like, oh, there's the design and the pattern, and you can't, literally on the poster of this fucking movie, the tagline is, "You can't cheat death." But then they don't like, the ending doesn't really like hone in on that like theme, or whatever. I don't know. It just, that stuff really annoyed
Well,
me.
I think that was their overall problem with trying to figure out the ending for this film. I mean, I think it was just clear because they were still having that issue after redoing it. Like, so, like I'll say this: like, I know me and you were gonna shit on this ending, like, kind of a bit, but it still fucking beats Claire being pregnant at the end because I don't. That's the thing. Even with the hindsight of knowing what happens in the second one, I don't really understand why they couldn't figure it out. Because it very much feels like this film wasn't supposed to have a sequel. And
Yeah.
so they didn't real. I think this movie did pretty well. I'm trying
Well, I
to
mean, it
look.
spawned a fucking franchise.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
it made
it,
$112.9 million on a $23 million budget.
yeah. An opening weekend, it made half of its budget back in only the U.S. and Canada. So
Damn.
yeah, this movie, and then when did the second one come out? Like just for like
2 years
turnaround
later.
time. 3 years later, came out in
Oh yeah, 3 years
2003.
later. Sorry.
Okay, so you know what? I mean, for what it's worth, you know what? It made money, and I think the second one is actually a massive step up in terms of this one. Like,
Mm.
I'm excited for us to talk about the next four. Um,
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I'm definitely more interested in watching the rest of them because I mean, Final Destination 4. I didn't think it was the worst movie, but I have only seen it once, and I saw it like a really long time ago. And I don't
well,
know. I would say I didn't make me want to seek out the other ones, but this one kind of makes me want to more.
that's the problem with the fourth one is I don't want to like talk too much about it, but I feel like it just dives too much into
Mm.
all of the negative aspects of like the horror genre
Oh.
that none of the others do. Like it's overly sexualized for no reason. Like it's the only film with a sex scene in it in this
Hmm.
franchise, and like you're seeing like full on tits and shit. So
Wait, really? I
like
don't remember that.
yeah, dude, like they have a full on like mild sex scene in it.
I feel
That
like I
like
would remember that, like as a
no, dude, he
ten
does
year
it in
old
a
kid.
cabana right before he gets his asshole sucked out. Um,
Oh, I
but
remember that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
that. I remember him dying that way.
So you're more inclined to watch these next four, and we're gonna
Oh
talk
wait,
about
maybe it
them,
wasn't the
right?
escalator. Maybe it was the car wash scene that
That's
made
still
me
the fourth
scared.
film.
No, but I told you earlier that I think that it made me scared of escalators, but I actually think it made me scared of car washes. And
That's even worse.
yeah. Anyways, I think yeah, let's go ahead and get into like what we would rate this movie.
No, yeah, I think I gave this one a solid 3 out of 5 on
Hmm.
Letterbox. I know we kind of shat on the ending, but like
The
in
ending does make
hindsight,
it worse.
that's what I'm saying. Like in hindsight, like the ending isn't like the best product in the world, but I
Hmm.
think the film as a whole just does so many good things with its basic idea and premise while still being shocking, but not in like that traditional horror way where it has to be like overly bloody or there has to be a serial killer. I think it takes a really like interesting approach within the genre, and like I said, it doesn't rely on teens having sex, but it also goes like against the trope of like killing children. These are children in film. So I don't know. I think the movie's got a lot going for it, and I'm a big fan of the concept because I think there's like a lot of cool, interesting ideas that I think the sequels like kind of build off of. So I think this is a really good foundation, and for a 2000s film, I think it hit the ball out of the park, excluding the ending.
Yeah, I'd agree for the most part. I think I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5. I don't know. I found it very entertaining. I watched it all the way through, so that's
It's
and
not
I
a
didn't.
boring film.
Yeah, yeah. I was very like I wanted to keep watching, which is why I didn't stop because I was really late when I put it on. I think it was like 11, and I was like, oh, you know, I have stuff to do, and but I don't know. I just found myself just watching it nonstop, and I thought this was a pretty solid movie, so that would be my
No, yeah,
rating.
that makes me more excited for like our conversation on 2, 3, the Final Destination, and 5. We'll get into the conversation about that title change in a few weeks. But
Wait, do they actually call it that?
yeah, bro, that's it's called the Final Destination.
Wait, which one is? Oh,
That's the fourth
the
one.
that's the fourth one. Oh,
Yeah,
that's kind of
because it was
dumb.
supposed to be the last one, and guess what? It made money.
That's funny.
um, All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to us talk about. I was about to say the Final Destination. Oh my god, about Final Destination 2000. I don't know when, but sometime this summer, I think we're gonna come back around to talking about them. Maybe what we'll do is, hopefully by the time we get around to like the other ones, the sixth film will be like streaming somewhere. So maybe we'll do like the second, third, and fourth, and then do the fifth and
Mm.
sixth for like a different podcast,
Yeah.
so we're not doing like four in one episode. But I'm excited to come back and talk about them. If you guys haven't, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next episode. So yeah, peace, guys.